We're joined now by pumpkin grower Stephen Connolly and pumpkin carver Mike Nattiello. Thank you so much for being with us, guys. We have been talking about this pumpkin all show long. A 1,400-pound pumpkin, that's incredible.
It's an amazing feat. It's something that we do with a lot of careful work in our gardens. We have genetic packages in the seeds that know what to do. They know how to produce a 1,400-pound pumpkin, but we, of course, have to put them in the garden and feed them and keep them growing all year.
When did you decide, I want to grow giant pumpkins?
I went to the Topsfield Fair about 16 years ago, and I saw this big orange orb there, which was a giant pumpkin. Weighed about 400 pounds, so now I've upped that by about 1,000 pounds.
How long did it take you to get there?
It took me you mean to grow the pumpkin?
Well, in terms of pumpkins, I mean, did they go up in increments every year? So you started with, say, 400 or 500 pounds, and then eventually 1,400.
It took about 16 years to get from 500 pounds to where we are now, which is about 1,800 pounds. We're on track to crack the 2,000-pound barrier by the year 2013.
Does it go up rather every year, or do you have setbacks?
There's always a setback. It's a sport of passion. You're not going to always win. You always want to keep trying and get better. It's kind of like a game of golf. You know, you're good and you're pretty good, but there's always room for improvement.
Well, with pumpkins goes pumpkin carving. It's hand in hand. What did you create in, an hour and a half?
Kind of a cute but slightly sinister face. I look at the pumpkin, and the pumpkin kind of tells me, in a sense, what it wants to be. You might see a bump that looks like a nose, so you work off of that.
Well, explain that to me in a little bit more detail, because I'm sure as an artist you can look at something and go a number of different ways. So how do you decide, especially in a limited time, this is what I'm going to create?
You kind of just have to go with it, like jump in and cut right into it. I started with the nose because there was a part of the ridges that looked like nostrils in the nose. So I started with that, and then I made some cute eyes near the top where there were these two bumps that were kind of browy-ish, and then a face that kind of follow the contour of the pumpkin. I mean, a smile that follow the contour.
How do you become a pumpkin carver?
A lot of practice, and one doesn't really go to school for it yet, but maybe sometime. It kind of just happens.
Rick and I were talking about this off camera. What do you do during the rest of the year? Do you carve pumpkins? Do you think about carving pumpkins?
I do think about it. I plan and design 2 events. I do one at the Botanical Garden called Halloween Hurrah, and one up in Westchester called the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze. So that's actually a full-time job for me, in that I'm planning and designing patterns, layouts, installations.
So it's pumpkins all year round, all the time.
Correct.
What about for pumpkin carvers who maybe are not as experienced as you, or maybe it's not their full-time job, but they're still quite good? I can't help but wonder, what do they do the rest of the year?
There's an off-season. We recharge our batteries.
You're like a football player in a way.
We are. There's a bunch of us. We're called the Great Pumpkin Commonwealth. Believe it or not, it's the GPC. And there must be about 4,000 of us growers right up here in the North America area. So it's a hefty group. We're all recharging our batteries right now. After Halloween, we kind of cool our heels a little bit and relax and think about what we're going to do next year.
So do you have monthly meetings, bi-monthly meetings?
We have quarterly meetings. We have newsletters. We have a lot of people that just have a true passion for the sport. And there's a lot of people that want to teach and a lot of people that want to learn what we're doing.
Have you ever or considered teaching in a school or to kids?
I have done some continuing ed classes, and I do teach kids at summer camps and whatnot. So it's something that is also a passion in teaching and communicating and educating.
What are some real basic tips for somebody who can't even imagine carving a pumpkin but hoping to come out alive?
Well, I mean, keep it simple. Don't underestimate the power of a triangle eye. Even like letters or numbers, other shapes are good for eyes, nose, and mouths. But don't bite off more than you can chew. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Don't try to do something too ambitious.
What about preserving the pumpkin? I'm sure that after a while you almost get attached to your creations. You spend time with it, only to realize it simply won't last forever.
I mean, you could do a number of things. You can dip the pumpkin after it's carved in like a bleach solution, a 10% bleach solution. You can let it dry out and then coat it with petroleum jelly, which will kind of serve as a vapor barrier and inhibit things from growing in it. Keep it in a cool, dark place when it's not on display.
Are these all the things you do with your pumpkins?
I try, but yeah, when you're getting like volumes of 5,000 jack-o'-lanterns as we do, it's a little tricky.
Now, be honest, has your mother taken one of the pumpkins and tried to encase it in a glass box so that she can show off to all of her friends what her son has done?
Well, I've actually carved her craft pumpkins, the foam pumpkins that you can buy at the stores. So I've carved her designs that are very nice and delicate and interesting.
Certainly something to make a mother proud.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for these great Halloween tips. It's so great to have you guys here, and it's certainly fascinating. Who doesn't love a 1,400-pound pumpkin?
Who doesn't? Right, exactly.